Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. The execution of Indian nurse Nimisha Priya held for murder in Yemen reportedly stands postponed, as New Delhi's last-ditch efforts to save her life unravel in and beyond the Houthi-held Yemeni capital of Sana'a. Tesla unveils its first showroom in India in the financial capital Mumbai, as Elon Musk's electric vehicle company marks its entry into the world's most populous country amid sagging sales in the United States and Europe. Chinese President Xi Jinping tells Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov that Beijing and Moscow should strengthen mutual support as foreign ministers gather in Beijing for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization talks. Thailand's suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra asks the court for more time to file a defense statement in a case that urges her permanent disqualification from the office over the handling of Cambodia border dispute. And Indigenous Australians lose a landmark court case to hold the government responsible for lacklustre emissions targets. The federal court says the government is not obliged to shield the concerned island chain from climate change. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from Beijing. After 6 long years, Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is back in Beijing, this time for high-level talks with the Chinese leadership on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Foreign Ministers Meet. And in a significant development, Jaishankar met with Chinese President Xi Jinping, a meeting that signals cautious engagement amid a slowly stabilizing relationship between the two Asian giants. This comes 5 years after the Galwan Valley clashes in Ladakh region, which led to the unprecedented frost in ties between the two sides. Jaishankar posted on X saying he conveyed greetings from President Draupadi Murmu and from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to President Xi. Jaishankar said he apprised Xi of recent developments in India-China ties. The visit comes nearly 9 months after military disengagement at the last remaining friction points in eastern Ladakh, a critical step in resolving the long-standing border standoff. Earlier in Beijing, Jaishankar met with his counterpart Wang Yi, where he noted that both sides had made good progress in recent months toward normalizing bilateral ties. Jaishankar said that peace and tranquility along the line of actual control remain the foundation of any strategic trust between the two countries. But he was also clear there's still work to be done. Jaishankar called for further de-escalation and underlined the need to address all outstanding border issues comprehensively. He reminded Beijing that durable peace at the border is non-negotiable for broader progress in the relationship.
We have made good progress in the past 9 months for the normalization of our bilateral relations. It is the result of the resolution of friction along the border and our ability to maintain peace and tranquility there. This is the fundamental basis of our mutual strategic trust and for smooth development of bilateral relations. It is now incumbent on us to address other aspects related to the border, including de-escalation.
Taking note of the momentum from last year's Modi-Xi meeting in Kazan, Jaishankar urged Wang Yi to take a far-seeing approach to the relationship. He reiterated a principle that India has long stood by, that differences should not escalate into disputes, and competition should never spill into conflict. The talks with Wang Yi also touched on trade. Jaishankar raised concerns about China's export restrictions and reminded Beijing that such barriers could impact India's manufacturing and economic interests. He said both nations must avoid trade roadblocks if they want to foster genuine cooperation. There was agreement on resuming direct air services and the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, and both sides committed to working together on transborder rivers, including the sharing of the hydrological data. Jaishankar also put terrorism on the table, reminding China that the grouping's core mandate is to combat terrorism, separatism, and extremism. India expects zero tolerance and consistency in dealing with these threats. This visit marks a clear message from New Delhi. India is open to dialogue, but only on terms that respect its sovereignty, interests, and security. The thaw in Ladakh was a start, but real trust will depend on actions, not just atmospherics. Jaishankar has made it clear that while the road ahead may be open, India won't walk it blindfolded. Even as China underlines its supposed commitment to peace and cooperation at the SCO meet, the reality, just a few hundred nautical miles off its shores, tells a very different story. In the latest, the Philippines has reported fresh Chinese activity in the shallow waters near the flashpoint of Pagasa Island. Manila said a Chinese vessel anchored itself near a coral reef, causing significant environmental damage. According to Manila, the incident occurred amid heightened activity by Chinese maritime militia, as well as the Chinese Coast Guard with Filipino territorial waters. Now, the Filipino Task Force for the West Philippine Sea said the Chinese vessel caused damage just over 2 kilometers from the Pagasa Island, also known as the T2 Island. Manila added that the vessel remained grounded for nearly 3 hours last week before it was finally tailed out of the area by the China Coast Guard and 2 accompanying Chinese ships. Manila said that its forces remain committed to safeguarding the West Philippine Sea, preserving the marine ecosystems, and upholding the well-being of the communities that depend on them. The environmental damage reported by Manila comes even as the Filipino Coast Guard came face-to-face with Chinese warships off the Occidental Mindoro province. The Philippine Coast Guard had been shadowing a PLA Navy warship, trying to push it out of the country's territorial waters. The Coast Guard said it issued several radio challenges to the Chinese warships, but received no response. Instead, the Chinese vessel went on to conduct a helicopter landing exercise on its deck. Manila has once again called on Beijing to respect the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, as well as the 2016 Arbitral Award, which invalidated nearly all of China's sweeping claims in the West Philippine Sea. Beijing consistently refuses to honor the 2016 ruling. Which brings us to the question, why has China stepped up its incursions in the West Philippine Sea in recent days? Now, earlier last week, the Philippines marked the anniversary of the 2016 Arbitral Award, the famous legal victory that shut down China's claims in the West Philippine Sea. Manila called it a historic triumph for international law and reiterated that it will defend Filipino waters despite provocation and coercion. So while Beijing plays peacemaker at the SCO, its ships are out grinding coral, ghosting radio calls, and flexing helicopters in contested waters. Meanwhile, Manila is holding the line, armed with law, resolve, and one message that rings loud and clear. The West Philippine Sea is not Beijing's to choreograph. For our next story, let's look at Syria, which is slowly slipping into chaos again. Israel bombed military tanks in the southern Syrian city of Ceuta for the second straight day. Now, after the government forces entered the city to end deadly clashes between the Druze and the Bedouin tribes. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz on Monday said, and I quote, The Israeli military attacked targets in Syria as a message and a clear warning to the Syrian regime. We will not allow harm to the Druze in Syria. Meanwhile, Syria's defense minister on Tuesday announced a ceasefire after the government forces entered the Druze-majority city of Syria. The forces said that their primary mission is to protect the civilians from gangs that are creating havoc.
Our goal is to protect the residents in case they have not engaged in fighting against the forces of the current government's Ministry of Defense. Our primary mission is to protect the civilians from the gangs that are wreaking havoc in the city.
The Druze are followers of an esoteric religion that's split from the Shiite Islam and are mainly found in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. In Israel, the Druze are a respected minority. They serve in the military and hold offices. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the conflict started on Sunday with the kidnapping and robbery of a Druze vegetable seller by members of a Bedouin tribe. This led to tit-for-tat attacks and kidnappings. The UN Deputy Special Envoy for Syria has expressed deep concern over the violence. Even Syria's Interior Ministry has described the situation as a dangerous escalation. But there's more to this. The fighting underscores the challenges faced by the interim leader, Ahmad al-Jalani, whose Islamist forces ousted President Bashar al-Assad in December after nearly 14 years of civil war. While the Druze in Syria say they don't want Israeli intervention, a fraction of the community doesn't trust the new leadership in Damascus. The Druze groups have clashed with security forces from the new government or allied fractions on several occasions. Now in Sweden and suburbs like Jaramana, militias have clashed with government forces and dozens are dead. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says at least 99 have died in the clashes and at least 18 members of Syria's security forces have died in Sweden. Now, after they were deployed to quell the sectarian clashes. But Syria's Interior Ministry is downplaying it. They say 30 people have died and nearly 100 others have been injured. They also say that it's not a sectarian conflict. The Syrian Interior Ministry says that the real conflict is between the state and bandits and criminals, and not between the state and any Syrian community.
Today, the real conflict is between the state and bandits and criminals, not between the state and any Syrian community. On the contrary, the state views the Druze community in Sweden as a partner in advancing the national unity project that the government is working toward.
But on the ground, Druze leaders are asking for international protection. One spiritual leader accused the government forces and the General Security Agency of supporting extremist Sunni militants. This is not the first time Israel has struck Syria. In May, it hit a site near the presidential palace in Damascus. It was seen as a warning to Syria's interim president. Israel has carried out hundreds of airstrikes in Syria. It wants no militants near its borders. And since Assad's fall, it has been even more aggressive. So what began as a local clash between the Druze and the Sunni Bedouin clans have taken a dangerous turn. Government forces are involved, and foreign powers watch as another chapter to Syria's long war history is added. And after a 22-hour journey, the Axiom-4 crew is back on Earth. The Grace space module carrying Shubhanshu Shukla and his 3 Axiom-4 crewmates made a flawless splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California just hours ago. An emotional return for him, for his team, and for the nation watching from afar. The capsule was secured The hatch opened and Shubhanshu Shukla stepped out, smiling, steady and proud. Back home in the Indian city of Lucknow, his family watched it unfold in real time. And when the capsule touched the water, his mother broke down in tears, overwhelmed, relieved and proud beyond words.
एक्साइटमेंट की कोई लेवल नहीं, कोई सीमा नहीं. एक्साइटमेंट इतना ज़्यादा है और गर्व भी इतना ज़्यादा है कि वो शब्दों में नहीं बयान कर सकते. आगे आने वाली पीढ़ी को सबक लेना चाहिए, सीखना चाहिए. जिसको आगे बढ़ना है वो आगे बढ़े.
From tears of awe to silent prayers, today it's all pride. The family celebrated with cheers and a cake specially prepared to mark his return to Earth. Shubhanshu Shukla spent 18 eventful days aboard the International Space Station, alongside veterans like Peggy Whitson and fellow mission specialists from Poland and Hungary. Together, they ran over 60 experiments on digestion, mental health and muscle loss in microgravity. After the splashdown, the module was quickly secured by recovery teams, and the astronauts were assisted to retrieval ships, where they will now begin health checks before being airlifted to the mainland by helicopter. India welcomed Shukla with cheers. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Shukla. He posted on X stating he has inspired a billion dreams through his dedication, courage and pioneering spirit. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also took to X and said that Shubhanshu Shukla's journey to the International Space Station is a proud stride for India's growing space ambitions. The Axiom-4 crew has returned with more than 580 pounds of cargo, data, samples, equipment and experience that could shape future space missions to both NASA and ISRO. Now, the crew's journey back to Earth began with the hatch closing ceremony. The Axiom astronauts got in their helmets, white and black flight suits were seen in live video footage. They were strapped into the crew cabin shortly, and 260 miles over India's east coast, the Dragon capsule prepared to break away. Then, with a couple of brief rocket thrusts, the capsule drifted free from the International Space Station. Before leaving, Shukla's farewell message left behind words that struck a chord. Listen in.
41 साल पहले कोई भारतीय अंतरिक्ष में गए थे और उन्होंने हमें बताया था कि ऊपर से भारत कैसा दिखता है. और कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है कि हम सब ये जानना चाहते हैं कि आज भारत कैसा दिखता है. मैं आपको बताता हूँ. आज का भारत स्पेस से महत्वाकांक्षी दिखता है. आज का भारत निडर दिखता है. आज का भारत कॉन्फिडेंट दिखता है. आज का भारत गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है. और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूँ कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है.
Earlier this year, Shukla was asked if he would carry something to honor the first Indian that went to into space, and his mentor Rakesh Sharma, his answer, a smile and this: yes, but it's a secret. That secret now sits inside the capsule, waiting to be revealed when Shukla meets his mentor. Now what's next? Now comes the rehab. 7 days of readjusting to Earth's gravity, balance, reflexes, cardiovascular health, immune response. Everything will be assessed. Before returning to India, Shukla will undergo a series of medical and psychological evaluations. Shukla will be debriefed by ISRO and Axiom. His insights could inform India's upcoming Gaganyaan mission, the country's first human spaceflight, set to take orbit in 2027. And soon, he's expected to be formally recognized by ISRO and the Indian Air Force, and by the nation that now sees him as a space pioneer. The capsule has landed, the mission is complete, but this moment marks more than just a return. For Shubhanshu Shukla and the Axiom-4 crew, Earth is home again, that the journey they began will echo beyond the splashdown. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines. Detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT. Only on Firstpost.